As some of you may heard, one of the most deadliest tornadoes has blown through my hometown of Moore, Oklahoma. This tornado brought with it tons of devastation that consumed well over half of the town of Moore. I know that many of you have probably seen the devastation on the news, and I wanted to confirm with all of my viewers that Rockin' H Woodshop was not hit in this tornado. However, it did miss our home by a short distance of 6 blocks or less, really. However, there are many homes that were devastated, along with 2 elementary schools, one of which took the lives of 9 children, and unfortunately took the lives of 24 total people, including those children. Tonight, and in this podcast, I wanted to take a moment and give a moment of silence for all 24 people. So 24 seconds of silence will be given in honor of those 24 lives lost. Let's pray and send your thoughts to all of the families that have been touched by this tornado in such a devastating way, and help us have the strength to rebuild our lives. Now, since we've got it cut down to a manageable size, we can finish it up using the table saw. We've got a nice straight edge from the circular saw here, but because this was a full sheet and been moved around, some of the corners got a little boogered up. So we're going to trim those off and make this a nice piece. Now, I did some measurements on the wall, and because the sockets meet the door with about an inch gap, I'm just going to cut this at 45 instead of 46 like the measurement of the door. Plus, there is a rosette piece of trim, there's a rosette piece of trim at the top of the door, which overhangs about 1/4 of an inch. So if I make all these 46, by the time I get it to that rosette trim, I'll have to trim around that trim. You like that word? It's going pretty good now. So in order to just avoid that altogether, I'm just going to cut it to 45, and then I'll notch a C looking shape out of the edge of the board where my outlet covers and my garage door opener is set on the wall. So let's go ahead and cut this down to 45 inches, and we'll get the other one and do the same thing. Now, there's one thing that I did here, and I hope you guys caught it. Did anybody catch it? Nope. My sleeves. I wore long sleeves while cutting a board on a table saw. That is a big no-no. And you have to excuse me, do as I say, not as I do. It slipped my mind. I'm worried about the podcast and when I should be worried about my safety on the table saw. Well, now that everybody's learned their lesson for today, I do apologize for that. I'm not one to make mistakes and not comment about them, and I feel that that is doing you justice as a new woodworker and even as a professional who gets complacent in their job or their hobby and doesn't think about the safety issues. That should be on your mind at all times. So, in the future, I will try and minimize that as much as possible. But if I do make a mistake, you will hear me comment about it. So we're going to go ahead and get started cutting the next piece. Well, you guys are going to get all kinds of instructional wisdom today, simply because I ran into another and it's just because of equipment that I particularly do not like. As I was pushing this piece across, we came into a little snag with our roller stand, which is our Outfeed stand, that catches the excess workpiece as it comes across the table saw. And the reason I didn't like it is because this is slatted, it has a lot of give and bow. And as it came across the table saw, I had to stand just like that far. I mean, that much further, but it makes a difference. And as this was coming across, the board started to give way and it hit this roller and went up underneath it. And I had nowhere to go. I could either choose to continue pushing it on, which is dangerous, or pull it back while the saw is still running, and that's also dangerous. So I just killed the saw, pulled the piece back, and moved this a little closer, and then lifted this piece back onto the roller so I could finish it out. That is why I do not like these roller stands. They are handy in a pinch and in a small workshop, but you really need two of these, and they've got to be the multi rollers because the single rollers just aren't good enough. The reason you need two is to put one close to the saw and then another one directly behind it to catch your work. And they do have that, they fold down, but they are roller extensions. But they've got to be long enough to where when you clear the board past your saw blade, that your workpiece, a 4x8 sheet of plywood, lengthwise, will not tip over. I just thought I'd share that with you again. Like I said, I point out mistakes as they happen, so take it to heart. Okay, well, like I said before, we are, since we've got our pieces cut to the proper width, we're going to notch out the little C notch for the outlet as well as the garage door opener button. This will be on the second sheet, but this is going to go on the first sheet. So all we need to do is just decide where the bottom of our first board is going to be, and I had already decided it's going to be at the very top of my baseboard down here and just go up as high as it'll go. So let's just take our measurement. It'll just sit right on top. And we want to give some clearance. We don't want this to be exact. So I'm going to do 33 and 39. That'll give me a ½ inch on either side. Because the way the slat board is made, if you have a fresh piece that's uncut, the back side is actually going to be taller than the front side. So there's kind of a discrepancy here, so you need to measure from the back. Now that we've got these two measurements scribed on our board, what we need to do is decide how far over we're going to take this board. And we cut it to 45 inches wide, and we'll verify that right now. 44 inches, I'm sorry, it was 45 inches on the wall. So any of that prop dialogue on the table saw, take an inch off that. So yeah, we're going to be pretty close to the edge of this light cover. We'll just give ourselves about, maybe a ½ inch from the light switch. And that right there puts us at 7.5 inches. Half inch of play between this edge and the edge of the board. Now with our marks scribed, just need to take a straight edge, extend the lines, now the next thing we're going to do is just drill a couple of pilot holes at each corner location, so whenever we take our jigsaw in through here, we'll have a place that we can make a sharp 90-degree angle and go down to the next hole, 90 degrees, and out. Now, for safety reasons, if you're not very comfortable using a jigsaw, if this is your first time to use it, you might want to think of a different method to cut this open. You can lay it on a flat surface, such as your table saw or a couple of sawhorses, and that way you can have good control over your saw because you will be right on top of it, pushing it. I am comfortable enough, I've used this many years, that I am fully aware of where my blade is at all times. I can control it just about any position that I've got it. So I can cut it standing up just like this and it won't be an issue. But for safety's sake, if you're fairly new to using power tools, think safety and do it the right way first. What we're going to do is just take the measurements for the garage door opener for the second piece. Now what we just did is we measured from the edge of the light switch plate to the trim molding that was down here. We then transferred that measurement to this point on the wall, and because we had decided that we were going to have a 1/2 inch overhang towards the trim molding from the light switch plate, we transferred that 1/2 inch right here. Then we just took our tape measure and burned 1 inch off of it. When I say burn an inch, that just means you put the line on the 1 instead of the end of your tape measure, because this little metal piece moves a lot, it's not a very accurate way to measure. So burning an inch is the way to do it. Just make sure that you add that extra inch on any of your measurements. So we burn an inch. It shows that we have a 1/2 inch clearance here at 3.5 inches. Which means if you take that inch away, it's going to be 2.5 inches. So the 2.5 inches is what we're going to put on our second piece for the depth of cut from the molding. Right there. And we'll do the same thing here. Using this little straight edge trick just keeps you from having to make a lot of extra marks on your wall. All of those markings that we made for the garage door opener are going to be towards the bottom of the board, simply because this part is what is going to be sitting on top of the next one. So we have to make our measurements from here rather than up here like we did before. What I've done here is I've taken the board and put it up on its edge just so I can reach this cut piece a little bit more comfortably, so I don't have to bend and hunch over to get it down here. And that is how you cut a hole in wood. What I'm going to do here may seem like a lot of steps, but if you just stay with me, I'll walk you through it. This is going to be the easiest way to hang slat board, and some other things for that matter. If you're going to hang plywood on your walls, this is probably the best solution without having to find studs. What I've got here is a drill bit and a screw that's going to go into a wall molly. The molly is rated for 100 pounds per square inch per molly. So we're going to put about 6 to 9 mollies in each piece that we're going to mount. We'll drill through the slat board into the sheetrock. I'm just going to hold the slat board up against the wall, drill into it, and then pull it back out. And then we're going to drop the slat board down and then open the hole up bigger with the included drill bit that's in the molly system that I bought from Lowe's. And once we do that, we can insert the molly, put the slat board back up, and then screw it back in place. Voila! You have just installed slat board on your wall. And just like that, you hung yourself some slat wall. And it only took you about 30 to 45 minutes from start to finish. Looks good.